Is the final chance for President Trump and Joe Biden to lay out their visions for the U.S. on a national stage before Election Day. But how much actually is at stake tonight? Joining us now is Dr. Barbara Perry, University of Virginia professor and also the director of presidential studies at UVA's Miller Center. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it. And let me just start by asking you, at this late date, less than 2 weeks out from the election, more than 40 million Americans have already voted. The nation is very much polarized. Is there anything in history to suggest this last debate could change the narrative or change minds in any real, meaningful way?
Probably not, in a couple of words. Most of the political scientists, my fellow political scientists, have shown over the years that these debates don't really have a crucial impact on voting outcomes. It all depends on registration, on turnout, and early voting, as you mentioned. So it's possible, I've read even as high as 50 million people have already voted, and about half of those have voted in the key swing states, the so-called battleground states. So it's possible, depending on what the final turnout figures are, that about a third of Americans have already voted. And as you pointed out, polarization is such that most people have made up their minds now. And history shows that either if it's a close race, it will remain a close race despite how they operate in the last debate, or they come out as a draw from the last debate. On occasion, you'll have somebody like a Ronald Reagan in 1980 and 84 just hit it out of the park and will go on to a landslide victory, but he probably was going to do that anyway.
Barbara, it has been made mention that foreign policy is notably absent out of tonight's topics for the debate. The president has been critical. He wants to talk about foreign policy. Historically, have there been debate cycles for presidential election where foreign policy has not been one of the topics discussed?
Well, usually if we're in a wartime situation, let's take, for example, 1980, for Jimmy Carter's reelection, we not only had a sour economy with very high interest rates for those who wanted mortgages, high unemployment, high inflation. On top of that, layered over it, a foreign policy crisis with the Iranian hostage situation. So that's really bad for an incumbent, and that's among the reasons that Jimmy Carter lost, in addition to which we had an energy crisis that was also part and parcel of foreign policy. So if you've got a bad economy, though, as in 1992, for Bush 41's reelection campaign, the economy's going south, again, high unemployment. That's going to be the key pocketbook or wallet situation for most presidents and for most of the American people and voters.
Has the way we watch these debates changed, Barbara, starting with the Nixon-Kennedy debates in 1960? Has over the years, you think it's become more like a sporting event where we wait for that one line, someone gets in, and at the end you want to pick a winner? Who won?
Right. Oh, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that comes about from media changes, particularly now in the realm of social media. But I watched all four of the Kennedy-Nixon debates recently for a C-SPAN program that they were putting on, an hour on all of those debates. And it really makes you think that you're flashing back to the Lincoln-Douglas debates. They're so well done, and they're so, in a sense, now old-fashioned because they get in a point, and sometimes are pointed in their comments, but they're very respectful toward each other. In fact, Jack Kennedy and Richard Nixon knew each other going back to when they were both elected to the House in the 1940s as World War II veterans. So they had some common ground, they had some common interests, and then they presented their positions. And it was so refreshing to watch, certainly in contrast to what we saw in the first debate this year. So I think part of it is the polarization again, social media, and just simply how we all see politics this day as a horse race.
That is fascinating insight. Times have changed. Barbara, thank you so much as always for being with us. Appreciate your expertise and your insight.
Thanks. Great to be with you.
And you can watch the final debate tonight right here on NewsNation, also on newsnationnow.com. No panels, no pundits, just the facts. And after it's over, we do want to hear from you, your voice, your nation. Let us know which candidate you believe won the debate. You can also send us your thoughts about it. That's on newsnationnow.com, as well as on our NewsNation Now app.